Hi, my name is Kees, and I'm here today with Floris, my good friend. And yesterday we have a spiritual group, and yesterday we were having a conversation in that. And my other friend James, he introduced the inquiry of the day. So yesterday I said, "Why do I hold on to my issues?" as the inquiry of the day. Floris, your response was identification with the issue. This is me, and this is my issue, and I am responsible. Then the only way to get rid of this is to solve it, and therefore giving more attention to it. I need to put on the work. I mean, just letting it be go is not an option. It cannot be that simple, right? So I think you're creating a mental dialogue there, which people usually don't have that mental dialogue literally in their heads, but it's kind of like one layer below. It's kind of like the assumptions we already have about this process, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I said, otherwise, what is left for me to do?
Oh, yes.
And you said exactly, I need to justify my existence in whatever subtle way possible.
Absolutely.
Can you tell a little bit more about that, please?
I think because, we have been discussing this for many years. And the topic that reoccurs regularly is me taking life seriously. And I can only take life seriously if I take myself seriously. And that means my identity, my persona, my ego, whatever the label is you put on it. And I tend to fall nowadays less, but I have the tendency to fall back in ego. And then what I notice is that very subtly, I start to believe in really subtle things again. And then I take it into myself as an identity. This is me. And the moment that James wrote the inquiry, I realized that maybe even at that point in time, I was also taking some things in life seriously again. I make it part of my identity. And the moment I feel that there is a potential for a problem of issue, my ego loves to jump on it, and it wants to analyze, dissect it, to really understand what's going on and how we can solve it together. And what I notice is that it is my ego clinging, more or less putting a hook in the side of my mouth, trying to pull me back and say, okay, so take into account, this is, let's say, the base layer. I exist, you exist.
Mm-hmm.
And then the moment I start believing it, then I think, okay, so when I exist and there is this issue or this problem, I can actually solve it. And how can I do it? I can solve my problem by taking it very seriously. So let's look, what do we have here? What is this issue? The moment I do that, I allow the subtle invitation of my mind, my ego, my identity, whatever, to justify its existence, so that it has a right to be here because I take it seriously. And I think that was the first thing that popped up. I typed it in the chat, and that was it. Now we have this conversation.
Yeah, it's very beautiful. I'm reminded of this thing you call like taking it serious is very interesting, because it's kind of like the ego hijacking whatever wanted to deconstruct the ego or something. It's like, it's this very interesting thing, because Angelo has talked about the selfing mechanism, which means actually if you take one thought seriously, then there's somebody that needs to do something, or somebody that's relating to something. So it's not only if you believe a thought, you actually believe somebody that believes the thought as well.
Yes.
So that creates the subtle sense of self in that, in that relating to that thought, or relating to taking something seriously, or giving it some sort of importance. Lately, I'm into the thing where they say, I think this is from reality transurfing, where they talk about importance, and everything that's important is that's your resistance, actually, if you think something is important. So it's like an over-importance, you could say, or imbalance to your importance. And the interesting thing is that when you talk about analysis, actually, awareness and maybe some analysis is maybe natural, even part of deconstructing a belief. But there is this sort of energy where you now think that everything sort of that the ego is activated, maybe out of enthusiasm. It's like, oh, I now need to look at this, right? Like you said, and that's creating, that's sort of procreating itself in a moment.
Exactly. I think for me, it also has to do with building momentum. So the moment I, let's say, surfing on alignment, and I'm okay with life in a sense that everything just happens, and I let myself, let's say, be one with life, and then just things happen. And the moment that process more or less falls asleep and drops a bit to the background, I get subtle invitations. I always call it like I'm invited to dance, the ego dance. And then I get a really subtle invitation to get out of that momentum, because maybe it subsides a little bit, and I lose some conscious attention to it. I don't, maybe you have better word for it. But then I get invited and I think, this dance is also nice. And before I know it, I more or less hold on to something again. And then I think, oh, this also gives me like an ego sense of control. I like this. And this helps me to navigate life in a more, let's say, controlled manner. And that's also the point where I immediately start building resistance. And it goes as subtle as me losing a bit momentum in the alignment, and then it's like these gauges or these levers that just move in tandem so beautifully. So it's like a wave ebb and flow in that sense.
Yeah. So I think what to tell a little bit about how this process was for me is, I think I've done this so many times, as in basically re-identify with something. To, in a way, you need to, sometimes I say to clients as well, like, play the dance, because you can also, when the emptiness aspect is really new in your life, it's like, do I need to play this dance again? Is that really? But you feel the issue, right? So the issue is still there. So it would also be, there's this balance. On the one hand, you don't want to always be on the lookout for issues, basically ego activated, looking for ego. But on the other hand, there's also this real possibility for bypassing, if you're, let's say, in deeper realization and you feel like everything's okay anyway, but then you still feel the suffering. And in order to sort of get rid of the suffering, or sort of, merge with the suffering, we could say, you need to entertain it for a second. And you need to sort of fully feel it as well.
Yeah.
So that's the delicate balance in this, which I've also noticed that I've been trying to say to people more often now, like, let it dissolve itself. I think I got this from Josh Putnam. He said, like, let it do itself. Let the process do itself. I think that makes a lot of sense, to not force it in any way, because oftentimes, when you sit with something, it automatically starts to deconstruct by itself if you just give it attention.
Yeah.
But it does need your attention in a way, or in your compassion.
Yeah, and I think it's the delicate balance, or the subtlety for me lies in giving space and attention to the thought or the feeling that pops up, but not fall in my, let's say, automatic mechanism or my survival mechanism to pick it up and do something with it. Because that's the conditioning that I've noticed in my life, that if something uncomfortable happens, or something happens that I can pick up and take responsibility for, let's say, or based on my conditioning of how I was raised, if I can help other people and please other people, then it's very tempting to pick it up and do something for someone else.
Yeah.
And so that's the balance of letting it be and not pick it up to do something with it.
Yeah.
And that's a muscle that takes a lot of practice in the gym,
Yeah.
on your chair, in your bed, whatever.
Yeah.
But it does get better because I feel the taste. I feel the taste of when I start forcing myself to do something with it, while I feel
Yeah.
in the deepest that it's not my task, not my responsibility, it's not my purpose to pick it up and do something with it.
It's kind of like this deeper part of you that when we could call it awaken or something like that, when you see like inside everything is okay, or everything's already here, or
Mm,
everything's already love, or
mm,
whatever, everything's empty, we could say, or and empty, not empty of nothing in it, but just because emptiness itself is also empty, like, not to give you a fancy word to think about, right? Because love, we have an association with that.
mm.
But from that place of okayness, everything is already, when we're in that, then everything's already reconfiguring itself into that. So it's already transforming into that. But actually, when we start to hold on to something to the outside and want to change that, we're actually holding it back from changing, because the inner then is saying, well, this is not okay.
Exactly.
Right.
What are we going to do about it?
Yeah, exactly. So, and that's that movement from doing to being, is like, first you become conscious in your life, and then it's a very big journey to go from conscious doing to conscious being, because a lot of people are in this day and age consciously doing all these sorts of things, but they forget the whole thing, like, I need to get out of the way. I need to be with this, and then it can change, actually, for the better than I could ever dream about or think about.
Yeah, in terms of a process, it's a lot easier to do it that way.
Yeah.
So I think also when such a moment arises where you maybe feel that you should give it space to be, and I have some sense of, let's say, consciousness or whatever, I try to at least ask myself the question, when I feel the impulse to do something with it, I first ask myself, hey, what am I doing? In the sense that, what am I picking up that I don't need to pick up? And I also ask the question, I don't know if it's a question or a statement, but I tell myself that there's no need to do anything. I'm already being carried by life. It's not that I, as a child, was doing things consciously to progress in life. Food was getting in my mouth. I slept nicely. Things were just happening with me. My body grew. My mind developed, etc., in all its ways. So nothing has changed, essentially, from me interacting with life, me interacting with everything, everybody, and that just the sense that, let's say, if I don't need to live life actively or do things in a sense of creating activities in order to achieve a certain result, it just releases me from all this responsibility, all this sense of, oh, this is me and I'm separate and I need to, let's say, show everybody that I have a right to live on this planet or to exist. And I help myself to remind myself of these thoughts, and then I need to laugh because I know it's just absolute bollocks. But then I also feel the love. So I also feel the love of me being taken care of because I'm here, right? And there's nothing more beautiful than being aware of this moment, being aware of me breathing, me interacting, whether it is just me by myself, me with my kids, me with you in this conversation. Yeah, cannot get better than that.
Yeah, it's also such an interesting thing, because I've noticed, like you said, there's this practice element to it, but there's also this sort of getting out of the way element. So it's sort of practicing to get out of the way.
Exactly.
Right. So
you have to learn how to do nothing.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
You have to practice how to do nothing.
Yeah, because we've been trained to always, interfere with everything, with the natural flow of how things go. And that's exactly like it is like a kid. But and then some parts of you are actually, just like a little kid, like very cute and very innocent, actually. But then when it has a tantrum or something like that, when your kid has a tantrum, it's actually a very sweet kid. And it's just a moment where they're having a tantrum. And that's actually also, parts of us where we can feel like there's something coming up, whether it's fear or just worry or, something like that. It's kind of like when that behind that is just this okayness, we can be there for it fully without needing it to change, because I think that's love for me, that you unconditional love is, I don't need you to change at all. Right? I love you how you are, as the fear or as the anger or as the worry or as the thoughts about my life,
however you want to manifest it at the moment.
Yeah.